And join in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would the newly re-elected councilors please come forward? No. Okay, have you raise your right hands. Do you, 1st District Councilor Dan Olson, 3rd District Councilor Warren Bender, 5th District Councilor Denise McDonald, 7th District Councilor Bob Finsland, and 9th District Councilor Mick McKenzie, having been elected to the position of City Councilor of the City of Superior at the April 3rd, 2012 spring election, swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin, and will faithfully discharge the duties of your office to the best of your ability. So help you God. Yeah.
Please call the roll.
Councilor Olson.
Here.
Councilor Bridge.
Here.
Councilor Bender.
Here.
Councilor Stenberg. Here. Councilor McDonald. Here. Councilor Joyle.
Here.
Councilor Finsland.
Here.
Councilor Herrick.
Here.
Councilor McKenzie. Here. Councilor Brown. Here. Councilor Nowicki. Here. And Councilor Sather. Here.
We recognize the quorum will proceed.
Are you going to do this?
No, after.
Oh, okay. Your item 3.2 is selection of council president.
President Olson.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I would like to thank this council and the city and the department heads and the leadership for allowing me to serve as president this past year. It's a great experience. It's become a lot of fun. There's a lot of hard work involved with it, but at the end of the day, we seem to get quite a bit done, and hopefully we've made a lot of people happy with the decisions that we make. Over the last year, I had Mike Herrick serve alongside of me as vice president, and Mike's dedication to the city, to his family, to youth organizations, and his constituents has made me realize that he's a leader right along with everybody else in this room. And with that, I would wholeheartedly like to nominate Mr. Herrick for president for this coming year.
There's a motion and second to nominate Mike Herrick as president for the ensuing year. Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Congratulations, President Herrick. Councilor Olson.
I'm no longer president. I was wondering if you were going to catch that. All right. And as I just said, the role of vice president is a very important role as well. And one of our counselors, in my opinion, has worked his tail off. He's got every bit of emotion, every bit of energy, and every bit of dedication targeted towards the city, his family, the organizations he has fought for, Animal Allies, the committees that he's sat on. And I can remember this journey starting about 4 years and 4 months ago when he was challenged to run for this position as a write-in candidate. And he was successful at that time. He was reelected 2 years ago. And this time around, he very tirelessly went around and, along with his opponent, reached out to more than 700 homes in their district. And Mick McKenzie has been a proven warrior in some of these things. He stood for what he believes in. He stood by himself sometimes, and that's a genuine quality of a real good man, in my opinion. Therefore, I'd like to nominate Mick McKenzie for vice president for this upcoming year.
heard a motion, multiple seconds, nominating Mick McKenzie as Vice President of the Common Council. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Congratulations, Vice President. Dan, I would, former President, I mean, if you would please come up here. You didn't have to wear a tie on my behalf.
Take it off.
On behalf of the City of Superior, I'd like to present you with gratitude to Dan Olson, 1st District Councilor, and to express our appreciation and gratitude for your leadership on the City Council and serving as Council President from April 2009 to 2010 and April 2011 to 2012. There have been significant accomplishments under your presidency, and the City of Superior has benefited immensely from decisions made by this council. Your continued involvement and passion for this community will continue as you resume your council position. Thank you for your public service and your unselfish sacrifice of time to work and plan for projects that make this city one, and we are proud to call our home. On behalf of the council and the people of Superior, I want to thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very brief. I did not know this was happening. That's not why I got a tie on, but thank you very much, all of you, for this.
Item 4 is approval of the minutes from the April 4th, 2012 regular council meeting.
For the motion and second, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Item 5.1 is the public hearing regarding a resolution introduced by the Plan Commission to vacate and discontinue a portion of North 46th Street and a portion of Hampton Avenue.
At this time, I'll call for a public hearing, and those that wish to speak in favor of may do so now. Those that wish to speak in favor of may do so now. And for the final time, those that wish to speak in favor of may do so now. Hearing none, those that wish to speak in opposition may do so now. Those that wish to speak in opposition may do so now. And for the final time, those that wish to speak in opposition may do so now. Hearing and seeing none, I call the public hearing to a close and ask the pleasure.
Motion approved. Second.
Heard the motion is second. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Item 5.2 is a public hearing regarding a resolution introduced by the Planning Department to amend the Community Development Block Grant Citizen Participation Plan.
At this time, I'll call for a public hearing and ask those that wish to speak in favor of to do so now. Those that wish to speak in favor of may do so now. And finally, those that wish to speak in favor of may do so now.
I may have misread the letter that I got. I thought this was just the normal time where you gather input for the plan. I didn't know if there was any change or not.
I can talk a little bit about that if you want.
Yeah.
Essentially, I think councilors received my memo, and I think the plan a while ago, and it was out for distribution. The main thing, John, that we did change was a lot of our publication information that we did. We kind of went through some of the federal guidelines and the like, and we looked at what we can do now from the standpoint of the web, postings and things of that nature. And we've more or less kind of decided to pull a lot of our publications out of the paper. These were costing us upwards of $250 to $500 a month. It was really hitting our administrative budget a lot. So we're going to make a concerted effort to make sure that we do make up for that on the website. But we're also going to, make sure that we get it out to all of our nonprofit organizations so that they have notice for their clients as well. So, and for those of you. The things that we do advertise are, the action plan budgets, any CDBG advisory meetings we have, things of that nature. We're required also by law to review this public participation plan about every 5 to 10 years. So we've done that. Everything looks good. It's probably one of the better ones in the state. And we wanted to more or less just kind of look at some of our financial needs that we have, particularly we'll be presenting a budget, a revised 2012 budget to you that will not be pretty probably in the next couple of weeks. So taking some of those things into consideration. So those are some of the things that we did, John.
Okay, I just didn't want to miss an opportunity to talk about needs for
And that-
housing and people with disabilities.
And that's at 5.4.
Right on.
Thank you. Any others wish to speak in favor of? Hearing none, those that wish to speak in opposition may do so now. Those that wish to speak in opposition may do so now. And finally, those that wish to speak in opposition may do so now. Hearing and seeing none, call the public hearing to a close and ask the pleasure. For the motion and second, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried.
Item 5.3 is the public hearing on an ordinance introduced by the Department of Planning and Development to rezone property in the vicinity of Tower Avenue and North 46th Street from suburban district to manufacturing light district.
Once again, I'll call for a public hearing and ask those that wish to speak in favor may do so now. Those that wish to speak in favor may do so now. And for the last time, those that wish to speak in favor may do so now. Hearing and seeing none, those that wish to speak in opposition may do so now. Those that wish to speak in opposition may do so now. And those that wish to speak in opposition may do so now. Hearing and seeing none, I call the public hearing to close and ask the pleasure. Heard the motion and second, discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Item 5.4 is the public hearing to request comments on community development needs and fair housing choice.
This time I'll call for a public hearing and ask those that wish to speak in favor of to do so now. John?
Okay. We all know housing's a real issue for everybody in Superior. We've got, I think, the oldest housing stock in the nation. I hear that one, banting your mouth. But accessibility and rehab for disabilities is also a great need in our community. Jason, I've talked to you about this before. We do have, through some volunteer efforts, Habitat for Humanity's going to do some stuff here. They're looking for a place to actually be housed over here. And one of the ideas that we've had that we've done in the past, we've had a couple different types of housing rehab projects with the city, but one that would really be, we could resurrect if we had the materials, which isn't the hardest part, but usually the labor, and that would be modular ramp project. Basically, you have to have sections of ramp that go together like sections of dock, and when the need goes away, they can be moved to another place. They're about 90% recyclable. Very easy project to do, but it does take people to put them up, take them down, store them, house them, stuff like that. That would go a long ways to help keep people in their homes and avoid institutionalization and larger costs. So there's an idea.
Thank you. For the second time, those that wish to speak in favor of may do so now. And finally, those that wish to speak in favor of may do so now. Hearing none, those that wish to speak in opposition may do so now. Those that wish to speak in opposition may do so now. And finally, those that wish to speak in opposition may do so now. Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the public hearing to a close and ask the pleasure of the council. For the motion and second, discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Item 6 is the consent agenda.
Please poll 612.
Move for adoption of consent agenda with the exception of the item posted.
Heard the motion and second to adopt the consent agenda minus 612. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Counselor?
Yes, I believe there are a number of people here who want to speak to 612.
I'm going to read it first and then we'll, okay. Item 6. Item 6.12 is an application submitted by Barker's Island Inn, 300 Marina Drive, to amend the premise of a Class B liquor and beer license for 9 dates specified on the application for special events.
There are a number of people that wish to speak. First, I'll call on the Kent Oliver.
As Mr. Oliver approaches the mic, I understand this issue is hotly contested, and it's likely to be of some debate this evening. I can't fathom that Mr. Oliver or his counterpart, Mr. Radke, will wrap up their comments in 3 minutes or less, and I'm always the bad guy when I interrupt people. Are you interested in lifting that ceiling, at least for the two spokespeople for the respective companies?
I'll make that motion.
All in favor? Counselor?
I'd also like to make a motion that we be able to address the public more than one time. Is that proper, Frog? So make that motion.
Well, I think more to the point is that the city code prohibits a counselor from speaking to an issue in a debate more than twice.
Okay.
Is that the one you want to
Yeah,
suspend? Suspend that rule for
Sure.
purposes of this debate?
Is there a second? Yes, second. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Mr. Oliver?
Is the mic on? Yeah, okay, thank you. Mr. Mayor, councilors, thank you for having us here tonight. And I think I was probably a little shocked and dismayed when we had received a letter from the city attorney regarding our tent operation, that there was potentially some issues with respect to the code. As an entrepreneur and businessman, I've tried to work within the community, follow all the guidelines, and do what's best with respect to the community and with respect what's good for business. And what's good for me is also good for you, because it generates sales tax, it generates payroll and employment into the community. Barker's Island initially started a process where we had hired an architect, and we had planned a full-blown expansion of the property to create a bigger convention center a couple of years ago. And then, of course, in 2008, the economy tanked, and the banks dried up with money and left us kind of hanging. So we all got together and put together what we thought was an appropriate alternative, given the current economic times and the financial wherewithal that we had, to create a venue that would be hopefully beneficial to Barker's Island, City of Superior, and the marina and the boaters as well. We developed the outdoor patio, we put up a tent, expended a great deal of money, and then started marketing it. The first year, getting the word out, we only had 4 weddings, and then we had, of course, the Dragon Boat Festival, where there was some music at that time. Unbeknownst to me is that within your ordinance, our cabaret license does not, as it's currently written, permit us to have music beyond, amplified music beyond 10 o'clock at night, even on weekends. And so there is, within your ordinance, the ability to apply for special permits, and that's why we're here this evening. But I think twofold is that given certain venues, and particularly Barker's Island, where we would be trying to sell that venue more than once, it would in the future make sense that we wouldn't have to come here continuously asking your permission to do that, because it's difficult to market or sell something when you don't know whether or not you can have the venue. Currently this year we have 11 venues booked, 8 weddings, I believe. And Charlie and Kim can specifically talk to the specifics on that. But going back to being a businessman and trying to facilitate making Barker's Island work, pay the taxes, and creating a place for the public to, enjoy and have weddings, and bringing people from out of town here is basically my job and my function. So I need that to work, and without any more discussion for me, I'd like to turn the mic over to Charlie, my general manager, and Kim, so that they could speak to the specifics.
Good evening. I'm Charlie Johnson. I'm the general manager of Barker's Island Inn. Just to kind of give you a quick recap of some of the economics about what we're trying to do this summer here. I know some of you have seen the document we prepared. We have actually 7 wedding receptions, and then one ceremony booked for out there. The hard on-the-books revenue for us is over $70,000, which would generate tax revenue of over $7,000 just from those specific events that are on the books. I travel into areas nearby Superior, and everybody's envious of the economic growth Superior has had recently with Kestrel and all the other things. And this is another opportunity on a little bit smaller scale for Superior to see some growth. We'll be adding about 10 additional positions of jobs this summer to accommodate these additional events in our outdoor pavilion. And I certainly don't want to see that economic growth going backwards for Superior. We all, obviously the issue is some of the noise concerns of the marina. We all need to work together to try to make things as good as they can be for Superior. I respect the position of the marina and them defending their customers' privacy. And but those boaters, they're our neighbors, they're our customers, they're our friends. They are like family, a lot of them. We don't want to do anything outside of the ordinary to upset anybody. We want everybody to be happy, and we feel that there are solutions out there here where everybody can be happy. We're willing to do minimal things to accommodate. We've already addressed DJ placement when we do have events, requiring the walls to be put up at a certain hour to try to block as much noise as possible so that it'll have minimal impact on some of the boaters. So, thank you.
Say, Charlie, before you step away, I had a quick question for you.
Yes, sir.
And my question was, I see August 25th, Dragon Boat Festival, so you are going to have a band that evening on over at your site?
Yeah, I don't even have anything booked at this point, but, we usually like to have some entertainment. That's a festive weekend, so I wanted to at least have it on there. So if we do choose to move forward with a band like we have in the past, we'll have that ability with full, legal, proper.
Right. Okay. Good. Thank you.
Thanks.
Charlie? Just stick around, please.
Sure.
What kind of walls are you talking about to muffle the sound, per
Well,
se?
they're vinyl, they're not extremely thick. They're vinyl with windows. They certainly, the brides of the weddings don't exactly want to see them up, but it's something we've just said. We have to be respectful of our neighbors, and after the dinner music hour is over, we'll fully enclose the tent except for a 6-foot or 8-foot opening at the front end. And we found from the events we had last summer that does, it doesn't block it all, that's for sure. We're not trying to say it does, but it does do a good job to muffle the sound, that and positioning the DJ so that their music is broadcast away from the boats and towards our building.
Okay, and then in this drawing that you have here, I think everybody's got one of these, but do you have all the permits? I mean, have you, the fires come down and the police department, and you've met all the requirements of the special use permits?
We've gone through that. I mean, we had some issues last year with electric. We've got an engineer working on a different plan for our electric. The tent itself, we're going to be renting. We're not even owning our own tent because of some of the potential liabilities that come up with that, so we'll just be renting it from a local business here when we go to actually put the structure up. There's some things we're going to need to go through once we get the permission to have the music. We've talked to the building inspector and about sitting down with him and putting a foolproof plan together once we have the ability to have the amplified music.
Dan, just to clarify, the police department and the fire department are the ones that are required to sign off. And the police department has signed off. The fire department has not yet because they haven't submitted their detailed plans, including the lighting and electrical. And they would also have to get a tent permit from the building inspector
Okay.
before we would release any license to them.
And and then in some of these other special use permits, when we've had events outdoors, fencing, I realize that front walkway is, and Joe, you may have to help me with this too when you get up there, but the docks are going to slips with boat owners in those. Do you have any plans to secure any of those areas? I think there may be a liability, the backdrop, beautiful sunset and weddings and stuff like that. The privacy of the boat owners there, so we don't have people walking out on the docks and the potential of somebody slipping with high heel, whatever the
Right.
case may be.
Absolutely.
Do you have a plan for that?
We do. What we did last year for the events that we had is we put up a great big sign right at the top of the stairway that walks down that just says the marina is private property and no trespassing is permitted. Of course, the walkway, our restaurant patrons on a normal basis patrol that walkway. It's a beautiful area, and it is public property once before they get out onto those docks. So our manager staff will certainly be out there. We'll have the DJs make announcements about respecting the privacy of the boaters, and also the signage will be in place for every event.
And those will be in your final application for these special use permits?
Mhm.
Thank you.
Anything else? Thank you very much. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, two questions for you. One is, the reason why you're going outside is because you're trying to get two events going on at the same time, inside and out? Is that-
Exactly.
Okay.
The 7 dates we have a wedding inside on those exact same 7 nights.
Okay. Then next thing, have you tried with the DJ doing volume control at different levels of the volume? Is there any reason why it has to be, full blast or anything like that?
Exactly.
Have you done that, or?
Well, we did. The ones we had last year, I just continue to encourage them. It's something that's not, we would have, if we are able to get the permissions to move forward with this, we'll put it right in our contracts moving forward that volume levels have to be reasonable, and we reserve the right to control those levels and tell them how low they have to go. It's not in the contracts for this summer because they went out a year ago and we weren't aware of some of the issues. But we're completely upfront with all the brides about this. We have to be respectful of our neighbors, and we're going to do as much as we possibly can to control that volume level.
Okay, will a copy of that contract be sent to the council to look at?
Yeah, before we develop one for next year, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor McDonald?
Do you have a backup plan for the double weddings yet?
There's no
Like if you have
backup
bad
plan.
weather or...
if there's rain, that's something that we have to deal with, or a storm. But there is no backup plan. That's the venue that they've booked for their event.
And do you have an opposition at all to changing the time for the music?
That's another thing I would absolutely be willing to add into a contract for future events moving forward to next year. The contracts that are for this summer's weddings say up to midnight. A lot of people end their weddings at 11. We're finding more so than usual, but I can't promise that. The contracts for this summer do say no later than midnight.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Olson?
One more question.
Yes, sir.
So you've got 14 weddings planned?
No, 7. We put one of the dates we put on our application is just a ceremony in the afternoon, which, there'll be some music for that, but that's early afternoon. There's actually 7 evening receptions that are
Okay,
booked.
but what are the double bookings that you were talking about?
Well, that means we have a wedding in our indoor Great Lakes Ballroom on the same night that we have a booking in our St. Lawrence Pavilion.
Okay, so there's actually 14 weddings then?
Yeah, well, there's many more than that.
Okay.
Total,
but
yes.
The double.
That's right,
Double
yep.
bookings. Do you have contracts signed already with all of these venues?
We do.
The only thing that I would suggest is that the cart is before the horse here. So, thank you.
I have one question. Can you and will you try to amend those contracts for this year with regard to volume control?
We certainly can. I'd be willing to, as long as I don't, I would Yeah, absolutely. We would be more than willing, if we get the approval for this, to contact every bride and tell them that this is something that we had to go through the council for, and we were able to continue to do them with the stipulation that the volume control is at a level we declare, not their DJ, if that would be sufficient.
So that would be up to the volition of the party that's contracted with you to agree?
Basically, there's no reference to volume in our current contract, so technically, we would be able to. It's never been an issue, of course, because they're indoors before and nobody's complained, but there's no verbiage in regards to volume in our current contract.
So then you do have control of it,
I guess you're right, yeah, we do.
technically.
Mm-hmm.
Counselor?
Well, it seemed to me if you have control over that, and I think the point we're going to get to here is something that Councilor Olson mentioned as well, is the time of the events that take place. I might be getting ahead a little bit here, but you got, contracts out there for events that you don't have a permit for yet. That
Yeah.
doesn't make a lot of sense to me. These people on the boats, and we're going to hear from the marina too, but I think, they like to get up early in the morning and get out on the lake on their boats. So I think this is going to be something we're going to have to discuss here too.
Yeah, and, to follow up what Kent had said, we have our liquor license, we have a cabaret license. We thought we were, based on reading the ordinances, we thought we were okay for these events. It wasn't until recently we were made aware that the full-time cabaret does not allow the music. You need to get the special event with the temporary to be able to have the amplified sound.
Vice President McKenzie?
How about, you talked about, or the mayor mentioned about amending the sound, for the sound levels. How about amending that time limit from midnight till 10 for these contracts for this year?
Well, we do have the signed contracts that specifically say they are allowed to go until midnight for this summer. Be willing to mention it to people. We do have the signed contracts out there that say they can go till midnight, so we'd be breaching those if we forced them to, but more than happy to bring it up.
No, but like you were saying, you want to work with these people, you want to make everybody happy. That might be one thing that would make them happy if it ended at 10 o'clock. So would you consider it for this year?
Would 11 o'clock be something that would be a little more reasonable? A lot of them don't start their dances till 8:30.
No, we can't negotiate that now, but I mean, just as long as you are open to that idea, just like the sound levels.
Yeah,
Same, equally.
11 o'clock is something I think if we reached out to them all, we could all probably come to an agreement on.
Counselor Olson?
I said one more question, but just comment now. Earlier, you said your contract stated up to midnight, so I don't think you're not in breach of contract. I think the goodwill effort on your behalf would probably go a long ways with the parties involved.
Counselor Bridge?
Well, we need to hear from the marina here too, but I think that, what, the regulations and what your permit will say is going to probably take precedence over the contracts you have with your parties.
Anything else? Thank you very much.
I'm sorry. Kim?
Hi. Good evening. I'm Kim Mitchell. I am the catering director at Barker's Island Inn. In the lives of most of us women, we've been planning our weddings our whole lives since we were little girls. This is considered one of the most important days in our lives, second only to the birth of our children. In good faith, I have reserved and contracted the St. Lawrence Pavilion, our outside venue, for 7 wedding receptions scheduled for this upcoming summer and fall seasons. And as we've already said, we do already have our Great Lakes Ballroom reserved at the same time. I do not have any space to move these people to. Since I found out about the situation that we are in, I've been agonizing over how do I tell these couples and their parents that after a year or more of planning that we will not be able to host their wedding receptions. How do I tell our first couple whose wedding reception is scheduled in June, approximately 8 weeks away, that they may have to find a different venue? More than likely, the invitations are printed, plans are made, people are set, everything's ready to go. I don't know how to do this. I don't have the words to tell these people this. I just wanted to mention, too, that the decision that you guys will have to make will affect hundreds of people. These wedding receptions are looking at right now booking for 150 to 200 guests. Most of these people are from our community. They are Superior residents. Their families are here. They were born and raised here. And the children who have left have chose to come home for their weddings. The potential loss of business for us is huge. We will lose the trust of our customers from our community, the community that we live in, and it could potentially destroy us. And as I tell my staff, all we have is our reputation. The City of Superior has very few venues that accommodate the size and needs of these people. Most couples choose to have their receptions at hotels for the ease and comforts of their guests. If I send them away, more than likely they will have to look at Duluth for other options. A huge portion of the upcoming weddings for us really is booked from customers who have been to prior weddings. They either like the venue, the food, the service, the atmosphere. If I send them away, it could take us years to rebuild our business. And for an example, we had one family that over a course of several years had 4 out of 5 of their children that actually had their wedding receptions at Barker's Island Inn. It is the Ronke family. They do live in Poplar, so it's not really part of the Superior community, but they are still part of our district and our area. And when the 5th child decided that she wanted to go elsewhere because everybody else had their wedding with us, the mom actually called and apologized to me for it. So that is our potential. It's our potential business, and we're just asking for your consideration. Thank you.
Any questions of? Thank you. Joe?
Good evening, members of the council and Mayor Hagan. My name's Joe Radke. I live at 603 East 8th Street, Superior, and I'm the manager of Barker's Island Marina. I'm here to express our concerns about the special use permit being submitted by the Barker's Island Inn. I've spoken with all of you earlier, but let me summarize. In the summer of 2010, Oliver Companies added an outdoor party venue adjacent to the Barker's Island Inn. As you've heard from Mr. Oliver, they did this without making the required application to the city for an outdoor alcohol consumption license prior to adding this venue. This is found in the City Code, Ordinance Section 1458, which the city attorney has referenced in his letter to Mr. Oliver. Had they done this and the approval process been followed, all interested parties, including the police, the fire department, health and building inspection departments, as well as the marina, would have been notified and been able to weigh in on their proposed venue and how its use would comply with ordinance and its overall impact. It's clear the council was trying to be proactive when it created the ordinance, with its application process to address obvious concerns before an outdoor venue is added or used. Unfortunately, this was not done, so we're here today with the inn's management asking you for a quick approval of their request for 9 weekend parties, and I've heard that it maybe is as many as 11, and I suspect that they'll continue to book these as long as they have the sense that that won't be restricted. Despite no previous efforts by them over the past year and a half to either apply for the required license or comply with its provisions for control over area and amplified sound. Last season, the inn had 4 parties booked. They held 3 at the outdoor party venue, and 1 was moved indoors due to threatening weather. As a result of these scheduled parties and the inn's plans to use it like this regularly, we had marina residents leave for other marinas. These were residents who had been with us not just for a year or so, but over a decade or more. They did not want their very limited time aboard their boats during the peak summer months disturbed further by the inn's uncontrolled crowds of partiers wandering about the docks or the DJ blasting amplified dance music with the accompanying crowd noise late into the night. Others who stay with us had hoped that this would be resolved, and have let us know that they are prepared to leave as well if this continues as it has. Given that the city receives 54% of our dockage and storage revenue, that to date has generated more than $6.8 million in lease payments from Sailboats, Inc., the losses experienced and threatened by this venue's unrestricted use is significant. When we lose a marina resident, we don't lose just one season of revenue, but year-round revenue for years to come. There is a loss of the other spending by marina residents throughout Superior as well. They spend freely in this community. They get to know this community as if it is their home, and it is. It's their second home during the summer months. That's the type of tourism you couldn't ask for. I mean, it's just an incredible type of economic driver, and that's what the marina was built for to do, and it has done that for 32 years very successfully. We also must take into account those who will decide not to even consider docking here at all after learning of the disturbances from this party venue. I'm requesting the council refer this matter to the License and Fees Committee for a thorough review of the venue's operation in compliance with city ordinances and its impact on the marina. Only with a careful understanding of its impact and discussion of how to mitigate this can we solve this in a way that will be fair and beneficial to all concerned. I just want to address a couple more things that were mentioned here. It's unfortunate that the staff at the inn have been put into this position of having to deal with wedding parties that were booked knowing full well that this was an issue. It's been an issue since September of 2008 or 2010. So to have gone forward, and you can see from the letter that was written by City Attorney Prell that this is not something that's just come up this year. They knew this was a problem. They knew that this wasn't going to go away, and yet they proceeded to book these events. Obviously, they had their marching orders, and they followed those. Now they're in a very difficult position, and they put you, the council, in the difficult position of denying their guests their wedding day. That, to me, is not a reasonable way to approach this. And I have to say that this, in the 32 years I've been involved in the marina, we've faced a lot of challenges. We've faced 3 recessions, the most severe one right now. But this is honestly the most threatening thing I have seen to the marina's business model. People expect to have a peaceful time at the marina. Now, I know that there are some people here to speak who are customers at the marina, and I'm sure that they will tell you that they're not bothered by it. I'm not worried about the people who are not bothered by the sound of this. There are some people that are tolerant of a lot of activity. They like to have a good time, and in fact, I have actually personally had to go down to the marina many times over the 32 years to actually discuss people's loud times aboard their boats and to ask them to be quiet. So I understand what our customers' expectations are. Nobody's trying to be a killjoy. Nobody's trying to deny people having a good time. But there is a reasonable expectation. And sound and noise issues are coming up before city councils and city governments all over the country constantly. The city took the initiative, I think in 2009, to draft an ordinance so that you wouldn't be in the position that you are right now. And it's very unfortunate, again, that you've been put in that position. The manager, Charlie Johnson, mentioned that they have $7,000 of potential revenue, lost tax revenue if this doesn't go forward. Well, we've calculated our loss last year of the people who decided not to dock with us to be $10,000. That's $10,000 that the city would get if those people had stayed. That is money that goes directly to the city's bottom line. It isn't shared with other entities. It's $10,000 that the city can use directly on their budget. So I again respectfully ask that this be referred, and I hope that it will get the kind of attention and serious and careful consideration that it deserves. The marina has been an asset to the city. It's an economic driver. It was the anchor that allowed the inn to be built. And it was, of course, the mayor's vision to develop it. I think you all understand this. I don't have to tell you this, but it's important to understand that. And our customers, when they come from outside the area into the community, those dollars have even more impact, much more impact than the dollars from within the community. That's not to say that we should disregard people who live in the community and spend here. They're important. But of course, in terms of economic terms, those dollars coming, those new dollars into the community are the most important in terms of tourism and economic development. So again, I thank you for your time, and I hope that we can continue to discuss this.
Say, Joe, before you sit down, could you please explain about the acoustic fence?
Last year when we were faced with this, we looked at, I've been researching for a year and a half different types of products that might help mitigate this. And I found a product called Acoustifence, which is made by a company, and it's a rubberized material. It's hung on a chain link fence. I will admit it's not an attractive option, but it is designed to mitigate sound, and I understand it's fairly effective. Just today, I contacted a company in California that makes a clear vinyl sound mitigation product. It's not inexpensive, and it's not necessarily easy to throw up, but it's something that could be looked at. Because I also understand what the appeal of this venue is to the inn and their guests. They want to have the beautiful view of the Barkers Island Marina in their background. Well, who wouldn't? But you want it with slips full of boats, not empty slips. That wouldn't serve anybody's interests. We can't afford to lose one customer in this economy right now, much less a half a dozen last year, maybe another half a dozen or more this year. I have no idea how many we might lose or how many we won't attract at all. So there are ways to mitigate it, but I won't say that it will be painless and that it won't cost money. But these are all things that could have been discussed back in 2010, before we're at the point we are right now. And people could have researched it, could have done the research I'm doing right now to try and find a solution. Again, I'm not trying to kill the hotel's business plan. I just want them to be respectful of how it's going to impact our business. And we have been in touch with them from day one about our concerns, and yet nothing has been done. They've simply moved forward as if this would all just blow away and they wouldn't have to worry about it. So, Mr. Oliver is a very experienced developer and property manager. And for him to have moved forward without doing his due diligence, to me, is a little hard to understand.
Bridge?
Joe, is there anything acceptable in terms of altering the hours of these that, I mean, midnight seems, I understand that, we do these things in taverns around town too, and every time Grumpy's in my neighborhood has something going on, well, I get a couple of phone calls, and, but that's only once a year. So, and I tell people, it's once a year, it's for charity, you got to live with it.
Right.
If it was every weekend, I'd be in a position of having to try to stop these things, and of course, in this case, it's quite a bit later than midnight, but, I mean, if there's something that's acceptable, maybe we can get to it tonight, too, or maybe not.
I think looking at every part of this is important, and certainly the hours of operation are very important. When I saw their application and it was 4 to midnight, I mean, we're talking 8-hour period of potentially loud, boisterous music and activity going on. Think of that weekend after weekend. I mean, they've got 2 booked Friday and Saturday night. Now, place yourself in the position of a boat owner. Let's say this was next to your home, as you've mentioned people that have already called you, Councilor Bridge. And this was happening, yes, people will roll with the punches on an occasional thing. They've mentioned the Dragon Boat Festival. They held things on their lawn during previous Dragon Boat festivals, and then they moved their tent to the parking lot side. And then, of course, with the new venue, they brought it back. But people understood, and our marina residents understood that was a community event. It happens once a year. They could choose not to come to the marina one weekend out of the summer if they felt it was objectionable, but most of them chose to come because it's a wonderful event for the community. But having something weekend after weekend after weekend, a DJ playing the same wedding selection of dance music weekend after weekend at amplified sound levels is simply not going to be tolerated. And while some people might say to you right now, oh, well, we can live with that, I can assure you that I believe that after a full summer of that, during the prime season, which they have basically June, through August, or late June through August, which is our summer here in Superior. That's our boating season. That's what our customers come for. I mean, they dream all year long of those 2 months. And we're going to deny them the enjoyment of their time here. So yes, the hours are important. Many noise ordinances that I've been studying around the country, it's 10 o'clock. That's as late as you can have any kind of loud noise activity. Decibel levels are important. There are ways to, gauge this, to establish specific criteria, not just saying, well, we're just going to leave it kind of vague and the management's going to control that, because, again, who's going to go to that bride and the mother of the bride and say, hey, we've got to bring the volume down when everybody's having a great time? Last year, they said they would put the curtains up, which are just vinyl. They do almost nothing for sound abatement. The first wedding, they weren't up. I've forwarded you the video of it. You could see it. The next one that I had a video of, the curtains were up. But those curtains were up because we had a thunderstorm roll through. They were open at the very end, on the very end of the venue. And again, they do little or nothing to abate the sound. So there are ways to solve this, but it's going to take some work to do it. And to just rush this through and threaten the marina when this has been on the radar for really over a year, well over a year, I think would be a shame and be very unwise. So,
Joe, thank you for all the time and effort you put into this. You've really done a good presentation here, and it's all very important to all of us. I got a couple of questions, and you just brought up that, and please don't take this sarcastically, but you said when you're going to have Kent or Charlie or whoever go up to a bride and say, we got to turn down the music.
mm-hmm.
Are you prepared for the bride's mother to come to Sailboats Inc. and said, you canceled my daughter's wedding? Because there's a lot at stake here, there's a lot of issues, and there's probably a lot of blame to go around why this wasn't taken care of since 2010. I don't believe that Kent Oliver has just proceeded just because he thought he could. I'm not even sure if he recognized me, but I deal with him in construction issues, and he's a pretty well thought out man. The problem that I see is by going back to license and fees, are we delaying another conversation, I don't want to call it an argument, but we would go to license and fees and it would get recommended, there would be something that would come out of the meeting, a recommendation of some sort, and I think we still have the same issue, the same problem at hand, and not necessarily so. I stand on my own 2 feet, and I've gone against recommendations before, and if I had to, I would again, because it would be something that I believed in. Is there anything that Sailboats Inc., and I'm Charlie and Kent, that you guys can sit down in the meantime to make this work? We certainly don't want to, I don't want to be, and if this is brought on to the councilors, we took an oath of office here, and I'm going to represent everybody I possibly can to the best of my ability. But I don't think we need to get to the point that are we going to lose $10,000 with this entity, or are we going to lose $7,000 with this one, because that is going to create a loss for everybody, no matter whether it's the tourism that we're trying to bring into the community, not only the people that have, not necessarily tourism in your case, you've got people that have been there for a long period of time. My other concern is, do you have documentation stating that people have left the marina due to noise rather than what I know as to a recession that is going on and outdoor activities have ceased?
Yes, I do, and I'll be glad to forward to you copies of letters I've received from the former residents of the marina, or names, whatever you'd like. These weren't people who sold their boats. These weren't people who lost their boats because of the economy. These were people who said, we're leaving. And again, back to your first question, I understand how difficult it would be to go back to these people and tell them that they're not going to be able to have the event that maybe they've been talking about. But I have a copy of the inn's agreement that their catering agreement. And on number 27, it says that the Barkers Island Inn shall not be liable for non-performance of this contract when such performance is attributable to labor troubles, disputes, or strikes, accidents, governmental, federal, state, and municipal regulations and/or restrictions upon travel or transportation, not availability, and you can read the rest of it. But they have a disclaimer in here. Now, would you want to use it? Of course not. But they have the option, I believe, and Charlie has said, yes, they'd be prepared to go back to the wedding parties and talk to them about the volume and but he didn't say that they'd agree to changing the hours of operation. Well, they have it right here in their legal document. They can do this legally. Again, it won't be comfortable to do that. I understand that. But they've put you in the uncomfortable position of having to choose sides. And again, I have to say I don't think that that's fair.
But back to my second question. Is there something that you folks could sit down with the help of the mayor, the attorney, whoever it would be, to make this work for the 2012 season? And at that point in time, whoever Herrick and McKenzie decide to put on the license and fees, that maybe we should, with Frog's assistance, get into a special use permit for multiple events, have a special use permit for single events, so that we are stewards of what we're offering people in our community as well.
As I said in my closing comments, we're willing to, through the committee process or whatever, sit down and work out a resolution. We want to see this resolved to be fair and beneficial to all. But you as a council have to use the leverage you have, which is your city ordinances, to bring them to the table. They have so far decided this isn't going to be enforced, and we're going to move forward, because they knew full well, they knew as of June of last year that this was a problem, and they ignored it because they didn't feel that it was going to be enforced. They felt they could do this without a problem. So in any negotiation, you have to use the leverage you have. I don't really have the leverage. I mean, we're the lessee of the property, except for us to put up the sound abatement fence that we've talked about. And we believe that our lease would provide for us to do that. Do we want to do that? No. But we also don't want to lose our valued marina residents.
Right. And I understand all that. And maybe that is something that the city could consider in partnering with the cost of the fence to satisfy all parties.
Again, I'm happy to meet, but I have to believe before we meet that that there is going to be some accountability.
Right.
That the city is going to use. Okay, if you have an ordinance that isn't workable, then it maybe needs to be changed. But
I suggested that.
But that doesn't mean that you still don't have the leverage, the power to bring the parties together and to try to resolve this. But if you simply say, well, we can't do anything because they've got these wedding books and so on, we just have to go through next year, that is just not acceptable, I don't believe. I mean, it won't be acceptable to our customers. And many people have said to me, well, what's so bad about it? I mean, people will get by with it and so on. Well, what if we do this? What if we go to 11? Or what if we, Well, again, ultimately, it's going to come down to our customers. I mean, they are the ones who are going to decide. I can't say what's acceptable in the end. I mean, I do know what's ultimately acceptable. No sound, no music. Our customers are going to be the ones, our marina residents are going to be the ones who will ultimately make that decision. So,
And I agree with you that in negotiation, leverage is powerful if you've got the leverage. I negotiate many contracts myself, and compromise, give and take is part of that.
sure.
So that's what I would like to see in this whole issue.
But nobody will, people won't compromise if they don't believe that you have something, some way of bringing them to that, around to that.
Well, I think our leverage right now as a council is saying that we really need to come to some compromise here, whether it's tonight or if it gets brought to a License and Fees Committee where it's going to be delayed. And again, I can't guarantee you what's going to come out of that committee. So I'll end there.
Councilor Brown?
Yeah, you've pretty much already said what I've been thinking about, and I've negotiated many contracts also as a Boilermaker business agent. And I've never, I shouldn't say never, but most often, if you get reasonable people to sit down at the table and discuss their issues in a reasonable fashion, that you can come up with a good solution. And it doesn't sound like that's kind of happening here. What I might suggest is that you both write a proposal of what is acceptable to you, and then have a negotiator sit at the table and pretty much decide this without getting attorneys involved and all of that, because now we're going to start spending a lot more money on both sides, and hopefully we can prevent that. So hopefully, as reasonable people, that you guys can resolve this. And I think you can. I just don't think you've tried hard enough.
Councilor Brown, I appreciate what you're saying, but our business is not impacting the inn's business. We're not impacting their operation right now. They are impacting our business and your business, because you, the city of Superior, are a major partner in this. And so while I understand what you're saying, and I am certainly interested in coming to a resolution, I believe that the marina is being harmed, and as the manager of the marina, my job is to be an advocate for the marina. And that's what I'm here doing, advocating for the interests of the marina. That's not to say that I am ignoring the needs of the hotel. I believe that it's a valuable asset to the city and to the island, and want to see it continue to be a strong part of the island. When they were planning their expansion, they had to come to Sailboats Inc. to get part of our leased property. We were agreeable to that. We thought it would be a great improvement, and especially the addition of the ad meeting space. It's very unfortunate that didn't come to pass. But to put up a hastily conceived venue, ignoring city regulations and ordinances, and doing that, and then moving ahead even after being notified that this was going to be a problem, and then expecting us to just bend and bend and bend. We gave last year. We tolerated it. We went to our customers and said, bear with us. We're going to get this solved, with assurances from the city that this was going to happen, and it didn't. And so, unfortunately, I'm here before you today.
Councilor Bridge?
Well, I think there's a couple things here. First of all, it appears to me that this is going to end up in committee, and maybe more than one, although I'm sure there's at least one person here that cringes at the thought of that. We're in a position of making decisions, and that's what we have to do. We have to accept that, whether it's in committee or whether it's as we sit right now. That's what we have to do. Without passing it off to somebody else, we have to make a decision to do what's right for the business that we're in charge of. As far as the sound mitigation fence is something that, I mean, there's going to be a couple aspects to this. I think that altering the hours of this is going to be necessary. It is, in my mind, going to be necessary, at least. Sound mitigation, I think, is a great idea. We set some money aside from proceeds from the marina for improvements, and so I think that we can probably find some money to at least contribute to some sound mitigation fences or whatever can be, come up with, which would necessitate bringing this to the Finance Committee as well to take a look at what we can do and what there is out there. I guess that's not an absolute either, but I mean, certainly the Finance Department has to be involved in those discussions, and that from whatever committee would need to be brought back here. So, but I hope without too much delay that we can make a decision without kicking the can down the road. If discussions take place between you and Mr. Oliver in between, and you come to some agreements, hey, that's great, but I think that's a long ways from being any key to this. I think we need to listen to what's going on here and not chase people out of the marina and make a decision.
Any other questions of Mr. Radke? Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll call on Dave Clark.
Good evening. My name is Dave Clark, and I live in Cotton, Minnesota. I've been a boat owner for 15 years, and I've had my boat down at Barker's Island for 12 seasons now. This will be my 12th season on H Dock, which is the closest dock to the event tent. Being that close, I've witnessed a lot of events over the past 3 years, and some of them I've attended. Throughout the years of keeping my boat at the marina, many of my friends and relatives have come down and enjoyed the marina and the motel and everything that they offer. They've rented the slips from the marina, stayed in the hotel rooms, ate at the restaurant. They have a lot of comments, and most of them are on the line that once they arrive at the island, there's no reason to leave there because everything they need is right there for the whole weekend. As for the tent, I have a special interest in it this summer because instead of being the bride, I'm going to be the groom to one of those events. I've reserved the party room through Karen for the July 14th event, and I've rented the tent from Charlie. I sure hope this can happen. It would be a shame if it didn't. We have 300 people that will probably show up for this event, and that's a big impact on the island, money-wise, and all of them, some of them have been down there many times. They enjoy the marina and Barker's Island Motel. I just sure hope that you make the right decision on this and give it a lot of good thought. Thank you.
Any questions, Mr. Clark? Thank you. I'm sorry, Len, Counselor?
Yeah, Mr. Clark, since you're a potential consumer, I'd like to ask you, in the spirit of compromise, would you be willing to accept an 11 p.m. curfew on your event?
Yes. It's we had talked about that in the beginning, and 11 o'clock was just fine with me.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Scott Tessler? Okay. Todd Carlson?
Good evening. My name is Todd Carlson. I'm a Superior resident, also a Superior business owner, a former Duluth resident, and also a semi-current resident at Barker's Island Marina. I have slipped a boat there for 7 years. I have just recently embarked on another venture, which really doesn't mean a whole lot to this conversation. I'm concerned, I guess, for a couple of reasons, as a taxpayer in the city of Wisconsin, or city superior in the state of Wisconsin, plus not only that, a business owner in the city, that we have an opportunity, as U12 are understanding, of losing revenue toward events of interest in drawing people to the city. It's a little shocking that we don't have any other venues like similar to what Barker's Island can cater to. If we do, they're maybe not advertised as much as they should be, or maybe we just have always been in competition of Duluth. But when one is going to plan a bigger event that's going to host 200-plus people, where are they going to go? And we always seem to be second place to Duluth. I'm a former Duluth resident. The company that I represent, my father and I own a company, and we were welcomed in open arms from Superior when we moved over here from Duluth. We own a couple businesses, and it's fantastic. Absolutely love it. My mother moved over here, my father, my sister, myself. This is where I want to be. Moved away from 85,000 people and moved into 28,000. Very well represented. I like to see that the streets are well maintained. The streets are always plowed, and I've got a bad thorn for some of the things that happen in Duluth, and I'm very happy to be over here. And I just wish that everybody could understand economically what we're missing out on. Now, I understand the concerns of the marina. I really do. I do understand that. But from a boating aspect, those are a lot of the things that you grow up understanding on being on a boat and being in a marina. Now, I've heard no noise. We want it quiet. We want a marina atmosphere. No fun. Now, I'm not saying that you need to have parties on the docks and things of that adventure. I know that we've had things over the years and been maybe scrounded on or cursed on by the marina for being a little bit loud in docks and things about that nature. But where is it to be said that you can't bring opportunities to businesses like Barker's Island Inn, where they're going to have and host multiple parties, multiple events, and bring revenue into the city? For those folks that are leaving Barker's Island Marina, I feel bad for them if they're going to Harbor Cove or Lakehead Boat Basin, because they're building hotels there. And along with hotels come events. So maybe Barker's was way ahead of the game in 1982 when it was put together with a hotel and a possible convention center and a place to eat and a recreation area with tennis courts and a pool. Duluth doesn't have anything similar to that. They're going to. There's talks about other things that are happening over there. Let's be proactive here. I'm putting it on U12 here to make a decision and not push this off to some committee that's going to take a few months to make a decision or talk about it and have meetings. You need to decide on this. You got 28,000 people there waiting. We want an answer. We don't want this to wait. They've got a lot of events planned. Let's be behind them on it. Irony. Here's the ironic thing. You walk into the clubhouse or the ship store, and there's a beautiful picture from 1982. There's the marina. There's all the docks. A through G. It was before the rest of the docks were actually put into Barker's, and there's a picture of a tent. The tent is right next to the building, right where the current tent is proposed to be now. I mean, there was obviously a vision back in 1982, and Mr. Mayor, you were a part of that. I really wish that you guys could continue to just control and put forward your belief in the growth of Superior.
Thank you. Any questions? Anybody else like to speak to the issue? Council?
Move for approval.
Move to refer to licensing fees as promptly as possible.
Who was the second on that? I'm sorry. I didn't catch the time.
Second? The second for referral?
Yeah. We hold in anticipation that there may be a special license and fees committee called. The members of the committee and also the availability of Parag and myself and Jason. And I think right now the only date that would work to get it back to the council at the first meeting in May would be this Thursday at 2 p.m.
There's a motion and second on the floor for referral. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried.
You don't mind pay just while everyone's in the room, because there will be very little time passing between now and apparently that license and fees meeting, that it's going to be on Thursday at 2. Did I hear that right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Item 7.1, Planning Director Cirque is requesting to award the Hallett Dock Wall Rehabilitation Project to the lowest, most qualified bidder, Marine Tech LLC, for $2,824,735.96.
Motion to approve.
Heard the motion, a second to approve. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
7.2, Planning Director Cirque is requesting to place city-owned property known as 2225 through 2227 Ogden Avenue up for sale with a minimum bid of $16,200.
Heard the motion, a second to approve. Discussion? Counselor?
This happens to be in the 3rd District, and it's only about a block and a half from the house where I live, and for about the last 4 years, it's just been a big sand pit. and so you can imagine what's been going on there, not only kids playing, but animals visiting there at night, too. So I think this is a very good idea to be able to fill this large sandbox with something else. So I just wanted to comment and say thank you to Jason for your role in this.
Thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
7.3, Planning Director Cirque is submitting a request from Friends of the Superior Public Library to erect signs in the city rights-of-way for the annual book sale, April 27th and 28th.
Heard the motion and second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
7.4, Police Chief Legess is submitting the Joint Powers Agreement for the Lake Superior Drug and Violent Crime Task Force.
What is the pleasure?
Move for approval. Second.
Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
7.5, Assistant Public Works Director Janico is requesting to award the 2012 contract for concrete joint restoration to Cornerstone Pavers in the amount of $268,383.
You've heard the motion and second. Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
7.6, Parks and Recreation Administrator Morgan is requesting approval to accept a donation of improvements to Susan Fields, the Billings Park Civic Association Park, from the Superior Douglas County Leadership Group.
Heard the motion in several seconds. Counselor?
I was very fortunate to be invited by the leadership class, as was everybody from last year's class, not only to supply food and desserts, but also to attend the presentation. And one of the gentlemen from that group is here, and I think it's a very good idea, very generous on their part. They did a great presentation. Everything is in place, except for getting all the money and getting all the things put together, but it's very generous on their part and a very well thought out leadership project. So here's to you. Good job done.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
7.7, Parks and Recreation Administrator Morgan is requesting to award the portable toilet contract to Aardvark Septic Pumping for an estimated annual amount of $16,720.
Heard the motion and second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Item 9.1, Councilor Brown is requesting council approve an annual special event permit for the Lake Superior NER with conditions outlined in the communication.
Heard the motion in multiple seconds. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any further business to come before this body? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll entertain.